Hi guys, this is Tony here from Metal Roos. You're about to sit down and enjoy an interview I just did um, over there, and so do like and subscribe so you can get all this straight into your streaming and into your consciousness as soon as it arrives. So enjoy the interview, and I will. Over to you, Tony.
Oh,
Oh dear. Well, anyway, thank you. Welcome to Metal Roos. You're for the first time, I think, since 1992, you're coming to Australia.
yes, it is the first time,
Wow.
and I'm often asked why we did never went there during our big hit. Because of course, when we went to Australia, we had a big hit in Canada with Superman song, but it was not a hit anywhere else in the world. So we played some very poorly attended shows,
Oh, fair enough.
and then when it was time to do our God Shoveled His Feet tour
Hmm.
for our second record, that record did end up getting big in other territories, including Australia. And they, the record company had us on the road for a solid year, pretty much. It was time to go to Australia. And I was like, listen, I have toured enough for this record. I have to get home. I'm losing my mind. And so we
Fair
never
enough.
did go to Australia
It's a long way
just
to
because I was
come.
exhausted.
Yeah, no,
And then
exactly.
and then
Yeah.
the opportunity never arose again because we never made a record that was as big as God Showed His Feet.
Yeah, but would you really want to come and give an audience that you may only see once in a while a half a show if you're tired and burnt out? It's they would not appreciate that. It's best for you to rest, like, life.
No,
Yeah.
you're right. You can't just go out there and be in any old shape and do that job. It requires some stamina.
It does because people know you're not on game. Like they could come to the
Yes.
audiences, they'll come, and they'll know. And sometimes if they're smart enough, they realize, hey, this is the end of a long tour. I get it, but there are other people that be like, I just want it to be perfect wherever they come.
Yeah.
It
Well,
is
who
what it
can
is.
blame them?
Yeah, exactly
Yeah.
right though. But I mean, I'm looking at your tour dates here, man. Talking about a big tour. This is one of the biggest tours I've seen in ages from a band. Like you're doing triple nights in places, it's like in Perth. That's fantastic.
Yeah. I was shocked at the level of ticket sales that we got going. I really figured that we would be a sort of more or less forgotten phenomena and that, we'd get one show at most. But when we started selling out second and third shows, I was like, wow, this is great.
Well, I think the thing is that uh, your music came at a time of a generation. I'm in my mid 50s, right? And it came at a time when we were in our early 20s, late teens, early 20s. Yeah.
Hmm.
And so it's a memory, like particularly listening to that first album is a real memory for me of summer of that year.
Mm.
Just leaving school, going to college, or leaving, actually I was just sort of at art college at the time. So I think that the people coming to your shows are those of that generation, and then their kids who they played it to,
Yes.
and so that's why it's so well attended. I think because there's a not nostalgia because that's the wrong thing to say. There is a nostalgia, but people want to see the music they loved in their youth played live by the band that wrote
Yeah.
it, and that's why it's going to be so well attended across the country here.
Yeah.
I
Good
mean,
insight. Thank
yeah.
you.
Well, that's right. It's a cracking album. I mean, you've done a lot of albums. I mean, you've 8 albums. You can't just say this is the only album that you have made because you've made
Yeah.
a lot of music, and I'm sure you're going to play a lot of stuff. I'm sure you're doing all of God Shuffled His Feet. Are you live or
Yeah. Most of it, anyways.
yeah, and
Pretty
then bits
much
on top?
most of the God Shovel the Sweet record because it is the most popular one, and then a sprinkling of other tunes from records prior to and after God Shovel the Sweet.
I mean, for me, I'm a huge XTC fan. Like XTC is in my blood, right? And when you did
You
Pete,
are.
yeah, and when you did Peter Pumpkinhead, it was a real because it's you always worry that when a band covers one of your favorite bands that how is it going to go, right? Is it going to be reverential? Is it going to be and it's a brilliant cover. It's a brilliant cover of it. It's one of my favorite
Oh, thanks.
tracks live. Yeah, brilliant cover of it. I love the video for it as well. But the just the fact that someone did an XTC cover at a time when they were so uncool. I mean, they're not
Yeah.
cool anyway, but if you know what I mean, no one was playing XTC songs in '95. Who was doing that?
No.
And then suddenly out comes Peter Pumpkinhead, and you go, "Oh, hang on!" And it really sort
Well,
of,
and
yeah,
it was the strangest thing for us too, because the only reason we ever covered that song was because I wanted Ellen to have a song to sing, and I hadn't written one for her. And I'd always loved that song, and it turns out that her range and Andy's range are fairly congruent because
mm,
Andy has a high voice for a man, and
yeah,
Ellen has a lower voice for a woman. Just broadly speaking. Um, so we started doing that for that reason, and then where was I going with that?
writing a song
Oh,
for
oh
Ellen.
yeah,
Yeah,
and then the people that were making the movie Dumb and Dumber came to us and asked us if we'd record it. And I was just like, "There's a perfectly good recording by XTC that already exists. Don't you want that? What do you want me for covering it?"
uh,
But that's what they wanted. So we recorded it and they put it in their movie and they put in their movie and
yeah, brilliant, isn't
it
it?
was a
I mean,
yeah.
that's isn't that that's the thing. So, for people who had never heard your music, that maybe XTC fans would have probably come in from that to then have a listen to your albums and stay for the rest of them, which is always a lovely thing, right? It's a
Yes. I
win-win
can
for
only hope
XTC
that's
and you.
happened.
Well, it's a win-win for XTC and for you, isn't it? Because maybe feel fans of Dumb and Dumber may have gone, "Oh, I don't know this band. I will have a listen to your cover, then I might listen to the original." It's a lovely knock-on and flow-on effect. But
Yes.
I mean, your music it's very playful. It's a very
Hmm.
playful a sense of fun. It's very passionate, and it has it's very artistically focused. I think, and I think Australian, especially the indie. I don't like the term indie because it blocks you in boxes, but just the fans in general love all that here. This sort of the country, Australia. I've been here for 30 odd years now, and for 30 odd years, they always surprise me on the kind of audiences that come out, and you're going to find that, particularly the shows here, they're just going to know your songs word for word. There'll be probably a point where you won't be able to hear yourself sing.
that's that's the best feeling in the world.
Yeah, I think there'll be a lot of love in the room when you play that, particularly that album, because it was number one here for 3 weeks,
Hmm. Wow.
which is a long time back then. When you could have charts, don't we miss charts? I do.
Yes.
I miss the fun of going and buying a record, or the thinking of all you could afford was one single, and you took your risk on that
Hmm.
one single or that one album. You know, it's sort of I know it sounds romantic and old fashioned, but it sort of gave musicians like yourself validation, don't you think?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I really miss the days of albums, and to be honest with you, it even discourages me from making albums now because people don't listen to them. They listen to their favorite track or whatever the single is.
Yes, yes, I've had this
You know?
conversation many times with musicians. The iTunes $1 a track thing that, buy one only track if you want it, don't buy the whole album thing, sort of ruined the album in a long
Yeah.
way because you weren't then just going to buy the album and take a risk and listen to some wonderful tracks that you would never think of sitting in that album
Mhm.
because you've only heard the singles. How sad is that? That they don't
Yeah.
get your whole album. All they've go is buy Superman song or or Ballad of
Yeah.
Peter Pumpkinhead, which are all
Well,
wonderful
and for me,
ballads.
an album, yeah, I was just going to say, for me, an album is something that stands together. Like it's a collection of songs that were meant to be listened together.
That's
Even the
right.
sequence is important, you
Yeah,
know.
and the effort you
And when
put
you
into
listen
it.
to people that really put effort into the process of making albums, like the Beatles, and that I just think it's stunning.
Yeah, and I mean I have never had the privilege of making an album, so I've been on the other side of the creative side. I mean I do play music, but I haven't recorded albums. So when you do as a serious listener of music, particularly bands like yours, the the flow of the album is so important. And sometimes when bands release special albums, releases, they put an extra track in somewhere, and I find it throws me right off because I can't. I'm listening to it, and suddenly this track appears in, say, track seven, where it used to be, it wasn't there before, and you find yourself sort of having to take a second look and go, no, what? Because your brain is
Yes.
you're so wired to that flow of music, the note into the next note and the space into the next space, that when they play
Yeah.
around with it, it throws you off. I often find myself moving that in my playlist to the bottom so I don't affect the flow of my album. But yeah, you're right. You know, the creation of an album is so important. It's so, I mean, you put all your heart and soul. Let's be honest. It's a physical, emotional, painful experience creating art. So to create it and then no one to bother listening, it would be really painful, I would
Oh
imagine.
yeah. People ask me why I still don't I don't still make records, and part of the reason is financial, but the other part is because I don't want to send songs out into a world that's not going to hear
Yeah.
what I make.
And there's a lot of noise out there, isn't there now? Let's be honest, you know, when you made your wonderful album back in '92, and then, you know, there was still the music industry was still slightly changing even then. It was moving and changing subtly that way. But now, because of the advent of the internet and home studios and social media, you can put there's so much noise out there. It's a
Yeah.
good, wonderful. It's wonderful. Don't get me wrong. It's a wonderful thing that people can show, be creative, and put it out in there. But there's no filter for it,
Hmm.
sadly, you know. And so albums like yours, I don't know whether they'll ever get made again. To be fair, in
Yeah.
I mean that sincerely. Like, the production value on that album is something special
Oh,
because,
thanks.
yeah, because you would have recorded that traditionally, not all separated across the world, and you know,
Yes.
it would have been in a studio. You would have all fed off each other's physical vibes and things, and created this great art instead of just being like we are now, which we're lucky to do. I mean, you're in Canada, I'm in Australia. We can chat. It's amazing, but
Hmm.
you're not getting the same. You know what I mean? Face to face or in the same room. It's a different kind of vibe, eh? You
Yes.
know? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mm. And also, people need your music, mate. They need it more and more so these days, politically in the world we live in, and it's a sad and a horrible place a lot of the time. So, upbeat, fun, you know, passionate, artistic music like yours is really needed. And I think the audiences here are they're just gonna soak that up because we so need it. It's really necessary. Yeah. It's why
Well,
it makes the
thank you.
album. Well, it makes those albums, all of your albums, but particularly the first two, makes them very poignant because they were made at a
Mhm.
time of a political period. Although you're not a political band, but you have to you have to absorb your political background and your um, place, where you live around you when you create art. It just cuts into you without you thinking it, doesn't it? So it does show that it's not dated. That's what I'm trying to say. It doesn't feel dated.
No, thank you.
Yeah, because you write pop songs. I don't know, and I don't mean that in a derogatory way. I love pop music. You make good pop
No.
music.
Oh yeah. No, I don't take the word amiss.
No, because XTC, in my opinion, are the greatest pop band ever, outside of the
Yes,
Beatles.
and that's my opinion too.
Yeah, outside of the Beatles, it goes XTC. You know, it's like they're just great songwriters, and exactly the same as how you have in your DNA, good songwriting. And again, that's something that we miss, I think, from modern pop music is good songwriting. Like it's so
Yes.
click tracked, it's so I don't know, it's just so robotic. You know, three chords, that's all you're going to
Yeah.
get, and we'll just play the same progression 100 times over, and that's it. You know,
Yes.
whereas at
I know.
least yours is,
It
yeah.
bores me to tears.
Oh boy, I mean, God, yes. That's why we go back to bands like you. It's the textures in the music. You know, you can listen to this album, you can listen to God Shuffles His Feet once, hear one thing, you go back and listen to it again, hear something else. Some other nuance will come in. The lyric might mean something different to you on Monday than it does to you on Friday. You know, it's something special, and we really are glad in the world that you have it. And I thank you very much for giving it to us, and
Well, thank you.
really look forward to having you over here. I hope the rest of your time before you come over. You're over here very soon. Gosh, it's very soon.
Yeah, yeah. I leave on Friday for Vancouver, and we play a show there, and then we fly to Australia.
I love Canada. It's a beautiful, beautiful country. I've got an
Yeah.
uncle who lives out that way, and a friend of mine flew all the way to Canada just to see David Gilmour
Oh, really?
from Australia because he was like, I really
Huh.
want to see David Gilmour. And he only I mean, he had friends in Canada, so I'll make a holiday out of it. But he flew all the way to Canada. That was his main thing, was buy the ticket to see David Gilmour in Canada,
The
which I was like in
devoted
awe of.
fan.
Yeah, yeah. But you again, such brilliant bands that the Canadians have produced. You know, such wonderful music. I think it's like because Australia, it's quite remote from the rest of the world in its scene. Um, that you just make your own kind of music, you know? Just
Hmm.
yeah, yeah, and don't care about anyone else. We just make what we want to make and listen to.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely wonderful. Oh, but thank you for coming on. Thank you for chatting. Those that are not, if those listen to the show, which will goes out very soon, please buy a ticket. If there's tickets available, go and see them because you won't be able to take the smile off your face. I guarantee it. You'll be singing all the way home. So, and do enjoy it while you're here. Please do see some sights. Get to see this lovely country. It's a beautiful place.
Yes,
Because you've
I'm
got some
looking
time in
forward to
between
it.
shows, you can. So that's great. Like, you're going to
Yeah.
get, it's a beautiful, I mean, you're starting in Perth, which is a beautiful, beautiful city. The fans there are
Hmm.
so fantastic. They're some of my favorite fans in the world are in Perth. So
Hmm.
I think you're going to, what a way to start it. 3 shows in Perth. Brilliant. Brilliant. Get you time to get over your jet lag.
Yes.
All right. Well, thanks again for coming on.
Well, thank you. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
You too, and I'm looking forward to seeing you sometime because you do one Sydney, you're in Sydney once, and then you're back again to Sydney. So that's going to be interesting. So hopefully I'll try to get to one of
Yes.
those. So
All
I live
right.
about 3 hours from Sydney, so it's just just driving up to Sydney and listening to the gigs. It'll be great. Be a thing of joy. Right, bye for now. Keep safe.
Okay.
Travel safe. Enjoy the country. Enjoy the audiences. And thanks again for everything. All right.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thanks, mate.